Great. Welcome to Redefining Success. My name is Suzie Sandoval, and I'm the founder of Organize Zen, a professional organizing company helping women transform their lives by getting organized. Like many of you, I grew up defining success by the people, places, and things I experienced in life. And by 25 years old, I was managing multi-million-dollar properties and purchased my first condo. So I had a high level of success and responsibility. I felt successful and was committed to reaching new heights of success in my career. And 10 years later, I reached burnout and a quarter-life crisis. I went back to school, began downsizing my belongings and simplifying my life while creating a business to help others downsize and simplify their life for what really matters. And throughout this personal process and helping clients in their process, I became fascinated by what success is and what it means to me and then to others. I didn't realize redefining success would change my life in so many ways. And so now I'm here to feature other mission-driven entrepreneurs who are redefining success and transforming their lives by being organized. I believe we all have our own ideas of what success means to us, and most of our ideas come from what we're told, shown, and taught as we're growing up. This was a very limited experience for me, and although I achieved success at an early age, it didn't fulfill me. So now I'm on a mission to help really women define success for themselves and be able to live a life you truly love from the inside out. I'm really excited to introduce Jennifer with you today. She's the founder of Unique Impact for Mothers and Daughters. And this is a community of women who are, she's bringing together a community of women who are raising consciousness and being connected with girls. The goal is to support, encourage, and learn from one another and teach our young girls through mom and daughter workshops, providing expert speakers, sharing ideas and insights to build a circle of influence within our lives and throughout our community to really help within the girls instill their unique potential waiting to be discovered. So I love that you say this, let's bridge the gap between mothers and daughters to live our full potential. Welcome, Jennifer.
For having me.
Absolutely. It's been so great having conversations and getting to know you. And through the process, I got so inspired to interview you because I just work with so many mothers who really, really struggle with not only those that have in their life what they want and balancing that, but there are many mothers that don't have what they want. They're aspiring to create a life. And build in more of what they love. You're someone who's a combination of both. You're continuing to build and grow your business, but you've shifted so much in your life with your mindsets and your beliefs about success. I'm excited to dive in deeper because it really seems to have shaped your future and the direction you want to move in so significantly.
Exactly.
Great. Well, let's start out with what does success mean to you as we kind of open up this topic of success? What does it mean to you? What does it mean to you in the past? What does it mean to you now? Anything that comes up for you?
My mind has shifted as far as what success means to me. My prior belief was, how high can you make it on the corporate ladder? How much money do you make? And it was very visual. To me, I had to check things off the list. But as I grew older and I started a family and I really dove into who I am, I realized that for me, success is more of a feeling. It is something that I experience daily. So it may not necessarily be a goal that I'm hitting, but for me, success is having a great day with my kids. Mm-hmm. And that's not every day. So it is a success when it happens. It could be when I have a great event and everything is smooth. And it's just that feeling of accomplishment. And so success has really turned into what some might think of as striving towards a goal or accomplishing certain tasks. But for me, when I feel success inside, when I feel good about what I've done that day or on projects and I've hit my personal goals, to me, that is success.
So there's success in our career life, and then success in our personal life, right? And then there's all kinds of different aspects of our lives that we're striving for success in. So what I'm hearing is like in work, oftentimes we're pretty goal oriented, and the benefit from reaching those goals, achieving that kind of success, is accomplishment. But that's only one kind of success. You're talking about also having, defining success as being fulfilled by those moments with your children and your family as well. Now, you are a mother of 3 kids. How old are your children? What's the age range?
My daughter is almost 13, and I have 2 sons who are 10 and 6.
Okay.
And so it's a very busy place right now in my life.
And
it's very interesting.
It is interesting because you're going to be modeling success for them too, right? As you're continuing to redefine it. So how was success modeled for you growing up?
I grew up in a very stable home. My parents just celebrated their 49th anniversary, and so I was able to see 2 individuals, but also a working marriage as far as seeing their hard work, love, and commitment. Mm-hmm. And so I had really good role models at home growing up, and that really instilled major value, family value in my life and what I strive for daily.
Are there certain things then that you incorporate? Like I know some mothers like really make it a priority to have dinner together as a family. Are there certain things that were instilled growing up that are kind of non-negotiables that you instill with your family because of that?
I try.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's so different now, and times have changed. And what I thought when I became a mother that I would do, it's a little harder. When I grew up, Sundays were kind of family day, and so we spent the day together. Now we can't have a whole Sunday, so we try to do Friday nights. Mm-hmm. That seems to be a little quieter time for us because the weekends have gotten busier with the kids and their sports activities and me having events on the weekend. So I do juggle and with timing and really trying to connect as a family at a specific time. But we do make it work. My husband and I are very big on connecting our family and really getting us together when it's possible. So we do at least one night a week that we can have dinner together. We'll invite over friends that maybe don't have family close by, and we try to connect, or maybe we'll do our serving at the homeless shelter that night. So we do find ways to really connect. So it is a lot different from how I grew up, but those values are still here, and I know that I work them in when possible.
Well, and you bring up such a good point. It can be difficult because we are living in a different world. So a lot of what worked then may not necessarily be applicable now. But I love it. It's like you have family date nights, just like, having date nights with your spouse. It's like family date nights. And that's one of the biggest things that's missing in families is we're constantly so busy. And a lot of the busyness comes from survival, making sure you have a nice home, making sure that you're comfortable and you're well fed and you're all this. And that's a huge aspect. But I know growing up for myself, I was raised by a single mom. And it was just me, only child. But it was difficult because she was so focused on survival that it really left little time for connection. And of course, that was her focus to best take care of us. At the same time, really what we're all needing, parents and children on a deeper level, is that connection you're talking about. And time goes by so fast when we're busy. You can look back and be like, wow, where'd the time go? How much connection, how close, what sort of relationships are being nourished? Because, our family relationships are the lifetime relationships, hopefully. So what's being nourished? What's the foundation that's being set?
I think key also is quality time.
Mm-hmm.
So when we are home, we spend that quality time together. Every night before we go to bed, my husband and I both go into the kids' rooms and we just sit on their bed for a few minutes and just talk. And sometimes they don't really want to talk. Sometimes it's just my daughter, getting ready for the next day. But she knows every night before we go to bed, I'm going in her room and I'm available to her. And so that's what I do to really instill that deep connection. And it could be just a few minutes, and it could be her mentioning something, or it could be just a good night hug. And that, to me, is that quality time.
Well, what makes it so quality, too, is that you remove the distractions from it. You're literally present, and that's where a lot of my passion comes in, too, is we're distracted so much by this busyness and overstimulation, whether it's technology or just in general in life. That it's difficult. We could be looking at each other eye to eye, but it doesn't mean we're connecting. Not to be fooled by that, And so quality time also, when I'm hearing you say that, is you're present, you're holding space for your daughter. So if there's anything that she wants to talk about or process, there's a solid support system. And that is something that's foundational. Because no matter throughout her life, having that support system, just knowing that that's there, maybe in her life, mom isn't always available, but mom's instilled that is available for you so you can get that need met. So, maybe a friend or a mentor. So it's so incredibly foundational. I love that. Was that something your mom did, or is that something that was just inspired trying to kind of create new ways to connect in this world, busy world?
My mom was always available, and I remember it was always like in the kitchen, as she was making dinner. So she was always available. I don't remember if it was anything specific or a time, but I do remember my mom was always available to me, and that I could come to her to talk about anything that was going on. When I think it was after my first, a friend told my husband, always just be available, walk in their room, sit on their bed. And so it was something that we thought, how easy is it to do this? Walk in their room. And so it was something that we knew would be part of our evening routine. Wow. And that the kids knew we would come in at some point as they're getting ready for bed and just chat or just listen or just be quiet. Sometimes they just need your presence. I just think,
that alone is such a gift right there, which is why I'm highlighting it, because really, if you have that one person in your life, just one person in your life that models that to you and it's like a blessing if they bless you with that.
Oh, definitely.
Because I feel like growing up, I didn't have that, and it's no blame or anything. Again, we're all doing the best we can, so to speak, but I didn't have that. And so what that taught me is that I needed to do everything on my own and by myself and not to rely on others. And I know there's so many moms out there who have learned that also, and it's not true. We're not meant to do things all on our own. And there are people that are out there that want to give us that space and be present. But it's so difficult sometimes to find the people that are able to do that, because it's so difficult to be able to keep up for so many people in a stressful world that's changing so much and hard to stay on top of. So I love that you guys do that. I think that is so foundational. And then I also am curious, so going back to redefining success, I know that you have a great story about how you transition from the corporate world into entrepreneurship. And so I'd love to hear kind of what that process was for you, because you had different mindsets about what success was along the way. So kind of share with me, because I know there's a lot of people that also are really unhappy in their careers. And what's really difficult is when you're really good at it. When you're really good at your career and you get paid really well, it makes it even more difficult to follow your passion and your heart, because of what you have to let go of for that process to happen. So take me to kind of that process for you, the starting point, and then what that was for you.
Early on, I and I thought this is the path that I wanted to have for the rest of my life. I loved what I did. I was good at it. The money was nice. I knew that I wanted a family, but I really initially thought that I would be a working mom. And that just was the path I thought I would take. When I had my daughter, for some reason, my first, there was just this shift in my heart, and I just felt compelled to become a stay-at-home mom. I never felt motherly. I didn't grow up knowing how many kids I wanted or when. I was never a motherly type of woman growing up. And so all of a sudden this shift, and I thought, wow, okay, I'm being called to stay home with my daughter. And I feel blessed that I was able to. And so it was amazing to be able to spend that quality time and to really learn how to be a new mom. Because as much as you read and you get advice, there's nothing like that hands-on experience that you get day to day. And so I was able to create that experience with her. And my thought was eventually I would go back to a corporate position. Well, about a year later, I'm pregnant with my second, and I thought, okay, I'm going to stay home a little bit longer. And so here I am now trying to rediscover what it's like to be a mom of two, because it's a lot different. You're juggling a little bit more. And I just felt it was just amazing to be able to be at home with them. But I always knew there was something else that I wanted to do. I just wasn't sure in what capacity and how I was going to do it. But I knew at this point, going back to a corporate job, working 10 hours a day, was just not what I wanted. And I also wanted to bring something else out, like my creative side, because what I did was more business, nothing creative. And so I wasn't tapping into really my full potential and what I was doing as I look back. So now I have 3 kids, managing that, and I started thinking, okay, what do I want to do? And I started event planning. I would work with nonprofit events. I have corporate clients and do their client events, personal events, weddings and showers and stuff like that. And so I've been doing that now for a few years, and I love it because I'm able to work at my own pace, take on projects that I feel are worth fit into my family style, and then I'm still able to be mom, but I'm still able to do my own thing and create a business from scratch. And so that's what I started doing.
Well, and there's so much from that that I want to also dive deeper into, like the transition of work life, which is typically a lot more structured, maybe even more pressure, and you potentially around a lot more people. And then you go home and it's just you, and you have all the freedom to figure out how you want to utilize your time, but most of the time we don't prepare for that freedom. So we're kind of reactive, and just things get slotted in our time. And this is where we lose track of our priorities, because anyone, I always say this, anyone can be busy. I'm not impressed when people say I'm busy. And actually, I don't like to hear that when someone says I'm too busy, and I've stopped using that phrase myself, because I know how it feels when someone says I'm too busy and how that makes me feel, and I don't want to continue like I'm better than you, or I'm too busy that I don't have time for you, or the message that it's conveying. I think we forget that when we say that because we're so in it. But it really, we all have the same amount of time. 1,441 minutes in a day, it's 24 hours a day. I mean, we have the same amount of time as Oprah, as the president, as the Dalai Lama. So we forget the power that we have to be able to, I like one of our conversations, you had said this, it's not about I can't make time, it's about carving time. And so I'd love to hear about also more about how you began carving time, because there's no model. There's help now, thanks to Organize Zen and myself, to help moms get organized and how to have some good time management strategies. But how did you not being modeled or what you were modeled, how did you start structuring your time and prioritizing what was important in that process? And I'm sure it's still ongoing, but yeah.
It is ongoing because it sounds great to work from home. It's like, oh, you can work your own schedule. But for someone like me who I don't really like to be structured, honestly, if I'm very open, I don't like to be structured.
Isn't it funny? We like to be in control, but we don't want to be structured.
Exactly. I will get things done eventually, but the whole strict time management was very difficult for me. But what I found was that if I didn't do it, I really wasn't getting done as much as I could have been doing.
If you didn't manage your time, you wouldn't be okay,
right.
Yep.
For example, this summer, I had 3 big projects to do, and I kept saying, okay, they'll get done by August 15th. Well, here I am, August 1st, and nothing was done because I wasn't managing my time. I was saying, I'm working on this, I would work on it 5 minutes there, half an hour there. And then I thought, if it's a priority to me, and if it's for my business, and it's going to grow me, my business, my family, why am I not making it a priority? Why is it not on my calendar, just like everything else is? And so I sat down one day, and I said, okay, this is what I need to accomplish for the week. So Monday through Friday, I made a list. What's priority? Okay, so I'm going to work on this Monday. And then I had to really time schedule myself and block out time. I'm working on this from 10 to 11. I'm working on this from 11:30 to 3. And I did that for 1 week. I accomplished more in that 1 week than I did the whole summer.
So what I'm hearing is that you took time to plan. When you feel like you don't have enough time, typically what I see is people will speed up. So then they're like on the hamster wheel and they don't know how to get off. But what you did was instead of speeding up, you created some time to plan your week out. Something else you mentioned, I know in a previous conversation too, which I love because it's a time strategy, which is you also guesstimated how much time a task might take. So then that made it easier to block it into your calendar. And then also if you then look back on your calendar, you could see that you were very productive, and your calendar revealed that as well.
Exactly.
Okay.
You really have to look at something that you need to get done and say, realistically, how long is it going to take me? And let me block out that time, and don't let yourself get distracted. You really need to focus. And I found that when I really focused on something, I was able to really dive deeper. If I just scheduled a half an hour, it was like just as I started to really get into it, it was like, oh, the half an hour's up. What's the next thing? But if you look back and think, it takes an hour, and I was able to get more done because I was in the zone, if that makes sense.
It does. There's a couple things that are going on. One is you're unitasking, not multitasking. Multitasking, as much as we'd like to think you're getting a lot done, it's actually sabotaging productivity. Now, if we're multitasking at home, like we're on the phone and we're doing the dishes, I'm not talking about that. But if we're really working on our important work and we need to concentrate, then we need to remove the distractions. The other thing is it's difficult to remove distractions for people, especially when your mind is used to going busy, busy, busy and constantly being stimulated. People have a hard time not only slowing down, and taking the time to carve out time and use these strategies like time block and time guesstimate that you're talking about, which is why I want to point them out, because investing in this time gave you the productivity and the feeling, the sense that you were in control and you were on top of things and that you were feeling balanced because you were getting things done. So what sort of, here's another thing I want to also talk about along these lines, because again, I have so many clients that really struggle with this, is one of the distractions can be people. And one of the what I mean about that is setting boundaries, especially for those of us that like, give it to me, bring it on, I can handle it. Yeah. And of our service, of genuine heart service. We want to be nurturing to our friends and our clients and the people in our lives, the people in our world. We want to be nurturing and give. However, we cannot give all of ourselves to everyone. It's the quickest way to unhappiness, is trying to please everyone. So can you think of some times where you've had to communicate and set some boundaries to be able to stay focused on your priorities?
I've had to step back, and I would say the last time I did this was about a year ago. I had to step back and really take a look at all of my relationships and my friendships, and I had to pull back from friends that I thought were taking more out of me than needed. And I naturally love to give. I love to help people. I am big on deep connections, so that's one of my core values, is not just connecting, but really deep, solid connections. And so I had to step back and just say, okay, where's my time going? And when you actually look back and say, okay, I've spent so many hours on a friendship that really is not healthy, then it's distracting, it's emotionally draining. So I really stood back and I said, okay, what's my core values, and am I matching them in everything that I do? And so I would rather have a closer knit of friends and family than, 3 times as much, but it not be a quality relationship. And so I also say no to work projects. So I really respect my time and I respect others. And so if I feel that maybe a friendship or a project is not worth our time, I step back a little bit and I reassess, because if I overcommit myself, that affects me and my family. And that's not fair to anyone.
And it's easy to do. And that reminds me of something else that you mentioned that I wanted to touch on too, which is also a time management technique or strategy, is being able to set yourself up for success when you're guesstimating how long something's going to take. You were talking about, you only give yourself a half an hour, and then you learned from that was not enough time to really get in. And I think also, again, I know for myself, I remember when I lived as a people pleaser, and when it was unhealthy for me. And that was one of the habits, the sabotaging habits that I did, was I was always running late, and I would have to cancel out on things because I overcommitted and overbooked myself. And I've learned a lot from that too, because my clients also struggle with that. And again, I think that comes from an unhealthy relationships, and your heart wants to give, but if you don't have the ability to communicate and set those boundaries, then we get stuck on that hamster wheel again, and we can't figure out how to get off of it. And these are all things that contribute to being distracted from what really matters.
Exactly. And another thing too, when I do my time blocking, is I also block in fun time with friends. And so, because if I don't, I can go a week and not really have that connection with them. And it's especially helpful when I'm working on a project that maybe I'm just not as passionate about, but that needs to get done. I book something fun after. I'll book a hike with a friend or a phone call, or I'll say, I'm going to spend a few minutes and just text a few friends and say hello. And so I know after that, it's something that is going to heart center me. And that also I time block. Self-care.
That's great.
And fun.
And you completely segue perfectly into my next question, is I really, really would love you to share how important self-care is to you, because I just see that being such a struggle in my world, with the people in my world, is not putting themselves first and giving so much of themselves and then being completely depleted. I mean, I've done that. It's how I got burnt out. So, so tell me, please share, what does self-care mean to you, and how do you block that in your schedule when you have all these other things to block?
Self-care for me is now a priority. There was a time when the kids were younger and I was trying to keep my head above water, and the person that came last was myself. Mm-hmm. And although I was very happy, I was overwhelmed and I was tired because I wasn't taking care of myself. I wasn't getting the proper sleep. I wasn't having enough fun time, alone time, with relationships that I care about. And so I went through that. Mm-hmm. I went, where I just wasn't taking care of myself. And after a couple of years of just sabotaging myself in that way, I thought, I'm serving no one here by not taking care of myself. And so now I am enjoying everything that I do because I take care of myself. And I think a lot of women, and especially moms or even working moms, anyone in general, really, they think self-care might be selfish.
Yes.
Self-care is not selfish.
Yes.
You need to give yourself permission to take care of yourself. And a lot of times when I'm really busy, like these last 2 weeks have been crazy busy with things I love, mm-hmm. I have been able to carve in hikes with a friend, phone calls. I utilize, even in the car, I'll call a friend. If I know I'm going to be in the car for a while, if I have a long drive, I'll say hello. I'll call family and friends. I get up a little bit earlier and maybe have a quiet cup of coffee, or even around 7 o'clock when things are a little settled at home, I might go for a walk, or I'll take one child with me, and the two of us will connect while we're having a nice walk in the neighborhood. So I carve it in when I can, and sometimes it's scheduled, and sometimes it might be impromptu. If I find myself with a few extra minutes, I will, go grab lunch by myself, or I will, go get my hair done. To me, that's self-care. So it's maintenance, and it's really taking care of yourself so that you can give to others. And
mm-hmm.
once I figured that out, it was a game changer. I was happier. My kids could see that I was happier, and they saw that there was a little more shine to my smile. It was just, they could see that. It was visible.
Now, we hear this all the time. Take care, how self-care is important, how it's a priority. So what was different? You've heard it before. What was different about this time for you that made that shift happen?
I was tired of feeling the way that I was. Probably didn't feel good enough, mm-hmm. in a way. Mm-hmm. I think I felt like, okay, I'm a mom of 3, I'm trying to figure things out, and I think maybe it affects your confidence a little bit. Mm-hmm. Am I making the right decisions? Should I have gone back to work? And so you let that little voice in your head talk you down that you don't need to take care of yourself. But you need to stand up to it, and you need to say, I'm making a change. And so once I shifted in my head that I was making that change, and I started working out, and that was a big factor for me too, because I was feeling a lot better physically when I was moving and taking care of myself. I started running, I started doing more hiking, and so you enjoy what you're doing. So you're enjoying exercise, you're enjoying the self-care, and it's easier to do it when you're doing something you love. So find what you like, a hobby, and it could be small. I think some moms think, I don't have time to fit in anything.
That's exactly what's the common,
Start with 5 minutes a day.
Yeah.
Find one small thing that you can do. And if it's, 5 minutes at night after the kids go to bed just to regroup, if it's getting up a little early to do a little meditating or devotions, or journaling, find that time.
So now, these are things that we hear, that we know to do, and I think that what's so relevant is for you, and I see this as a pattern, is that it starts here first.
It does.
It really does, because once the mind shifts around it, and that it's an act of self-love too, to mm-hmm. prioritize your self-care. And self-love has many layers to it. And so that's one of my big questions is like, why is it so difficult to do good things for ourselves? Well, that's me as a single woman. That's not even me as a mom, mm-hmm. focusing on others on top of myself. And one of the things that I think is most has been most relevant to that shift happening for myself as well, and making myself a priority is because if you think about it, we have relationships with everything, the people, places, and things in our lives. What we forget is to nurture the relationship with ourself. That's like the most important. Everything else is outside of us, but the most foundational is us. And to be able to, like you're talking earlier about holding space for your daughter, what about being able to give ourselves the gift of holding space for ourselves? This is a conversation we don't get into enough because this is where the mind shifts start happening, and we can start realizing the insanity of us going outward first to try to please everyone and deplete ourselves instead of giving from a place of abundance, right? Because we're filling ourselves up because we're cultivating a relationship with ourselves. But how do you do that as a mom when you have so many other roles that you're playing? So have you found yourself getting off track and then, oftentimes we kind of go to reset mode. Okay, I'm going to get back on track and priority. What's that process like for you? Do you have a particular reset process that to get you back in balance?
Definitely.
There we go. Yeah.
I do have a. Sorry.
It's okay.
I'll start. Hold on one second. For me, when I notice that my balance is uneven with my life, is when I need to hit reset. And a lot of times I notice it's when I'm not taking care of myself, or maybe I'm not focusing on certain things that I need to with my family. That's where I do need to hit a reset button because, to be honest, if you're busy, the person that comes last would be me because that's my personality. I give to others. And so I will drain myself to do that. And so a lot of times when it's just, things are a little out of whack and I'm out of balance, I do need to step back and I need to say, okay, what's throwing me off here? Is it that maybe my kids have too many activities? Are they overstressed or doing too much? Because it could flow down, not just through us, but to our family.
That's also a good point, yeah.
So you need to really look back and say, okay, why are we off balance? And why aren't we able to manage our time a little bit better? What is it that we're doing? And so I look at their schedules too, because that's an important thing as a mom. You want them to flourish. You want them to do everything that they love. And I remember looking back thinking, I'm not going to be the mom that has the kids doing every activity that they want, that they're out all the time. Slowly, you get pulled into that. Having 3 kids, 3 different sports or activities, and I'm noticing, okay, there's something going on every night. Okay, well, where do we need to pull back here? What's going to be our priorities? What are we willing to not do? And that's, okay, we need to have 1 free evening a week. We need to say no to something. And so that's where I find you have to keep that balance. You have to look back and really reassess what you're working on because it changes. It changes monthly, weekly, and you don't even realize it because there's small changes that are happening and you're just going with the flow.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, you're too busy. You're not taking care of yourself.
Yeah.
Things are falling through your organization. All of a sudden, you're coming to a pile of mail that you haven't looked at.
Yeah.
And so, and a messy desk. Sometimes I've done that. I work on a work project and I'm like, what happened? And something blew up on my desk and I can't find anything. So you have to really step back and say, okay, I need a day to just regroup. And that's what I'll do. I'll step back and I'll organize my desk. I'll look at my schedule again and take a day to myself and then start back up the next day.
So organizing helps you regroup then is one of the things I heard for you. So organizing is one of the things that you do to reset. That's fantastic. I'd love to hear that. And so that also moves us into how important, in that case, do you think organization is to success, to be able to achieve the success you desire? How important do you think being organized is to that?
For me, in what I do, if I'm well organized, it only create success in the events that I do. If I'm unorganized, it sets the tone. When I'm unorganized at home, it sets the tone that we don't really care what it looks like or where anything is. And so I really try to, I could be better organized.
Mm-hmm.
That's where you come in.
Mm-hmm.
But I really feel like even organizing the thoughts in my head too. So I look at it visually, my workspace, and also my headspace. And so sometimes it's really organizing, filing things away, and organizing myself. So it's huge to be able to step back and look and really reassess where you're putting your time.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've talked about some time management strategies and some self-care strategies and being able to be productive with our time also. Another question I have for you, we really dived into organization. There's been some good examples that have come up. So I want to move into also how do you handle stress when stress happens or chaos happens? Because this is all part of feeling balanced in our lives. So how do you handle when you're really, really stressed? Where do you go and what do you do to be able to manage that or pull yourself out of it or whatever that process is for you? What do you do when stress, excessive stress comes at you?
And it does often. And it really, it takes time. You have to kind of step back and accept it in a way because you can't live a life that is stress-free, at least for me. And so what I do is I recognize the stress and what's causing it. Is it something I can change, or is it that I need to get it done? Is it something that I'm working on a project? And then I find what's going to relieve some of the stress. And it might be a night out with my friends. I'll take a few hours and we do something. And I now have a group of friends that we get together once a month. And we just plan something fun. It's usually around music because we love music. And so me
too. Count me in. I love live music.
Yeah, me too. Music really just all kinds just really fires me up. It just I love it, and so that is a huge stress reliever.
So I'm going to break this down because you said something that is so key. And I remember this is another reason why I wanted to feature you and share you because the questions we ask ourselves are everything when it comes to working through whatever our circumstances are and how we're going to respond to those circumstances. And so you ask yourself that question when the stress is happening, either what's contributing to the stress and what do I need right now? And that is so important because, again, we can feel so hopeless in that scenario, but those are two tools right there that can help you move out of that stress. Regardless of what the activity is, you realize, I don't want to feel this way. This is what's going to make me feel better, and you put energy and effort into that. So I wanted to break that down because some people, again, when we get so confused and feel so helpless, we forget that we do have the ability to get ourselves out of the situation. But the questions we ask ourselves are not, why is this happening to me? That's not the question I hear you asking. You're asking the question, I'm accepting this is what's happening right now. I may not understand all of it, but I'm accepting it. What do I need for myself? Because you've cultivated that relationship with yourself to take care of yourself first.
And two, I think some women realize, and this was me, when I would get stressed before, I'm like, oh, I need a weekend away.
Yeah.
Oh, I just want to get away. And then I realized, is that really in the cards right now? Is that really something that I can do? No. So it could just be something that I do for 10 minutes. It could be, sometimes I just need to rest for a few minutes and clear my mind. Sometimes it's going for a run, which is most often I'll go for an hour run and just put music on and think, and I'm out in nature. So I have found what I connect with and how it makes me feel. And so for me, that's nature. So
that would be
when
a
I feel
great,
stressed, that's
yeah,
what
that would be a great tip, I think, for anyone out there that not when you're in the stressful state of mind, but when you're more in a calm or peaceful, is you make a list of the things that make you feel connected, like nature, make you feel alive and connected, so that when you are feeling like that at a later time, maybe you could go back to that list because you naturally have it inside of you, but others maybe, again, might want a list or something to go back to. Okay, cool. Well, there's been so much that's been shared. I can't wait to share this with the audience. But I definitely want to also touch on, go back to your transition from going from corporate to being a stay-at-home mom to then answering your calling and your passions of creating this amazing opportunity for moms and daughters to bond and build their relationship. So tell me a little bit more about what your work is all about, and then also kind of like any events or activities you have coming up, and how people can find you.
Okay. So I would say about 3 years ago, as I saw that my daughter was approaching preteen, teenage years, I really wanted something where the two of us could bond together and learn. It was my first experience raising a teenage daughter, and I knew I needed a village around me. I knew I needed support and other women who have gone and done, have paved the road ahead, and other women that were in my stage. And so I didn't really find a group that I was looking for. And so I decided, why not create it? And because I create events, why not create events for mom and daughters? And so I've created a group. It's called Unique Impact for Moms and Daughters. And this group, it brings moms and daughters together, and not just moms, but women in general who are aunts, grandmothers, mentors, a woman that has an investment in a preteen or teenage girl that really want to spend time with them and help them navigate some of these challenging years. It's not easy with social media and schools and bullying, and what college are you getting into. So there's a lot of pressure for these girls, and especially body image and confidence. And so I've decided to create this group where moms can come together and have a forum to discuss, and then have workshops where the moms and daughters come together, and we bring in some great speakers, very inspirational. We do fun crafts. We'll do keepsakes that they can take home and display in their rooms, and just have a really good time and just have fun together. And so this group, it's been amazing. It's my passion. It's something that my daughter and I work on together. So I ask her, what topics are coming up with you and your friends? What do you feel your struggles are? What would you like to hear from other women? And so I've started this group, but it is definitely ignited by my daughter, and it's just a passion that I have. It's really where I'm moving forward with my event planning, and just passionate about.
Yeah, definitely. You can tell it comes out as you're just talking about it. And what events do you have coming up, and how can people find out about you, more about you?
Okay, so my next event is coming up in October. It's October 15th, and they're in the LA area. This one here is actually Cal State Northridge, and it's a Sunday afternoon where you can come and just 3 hours of solid bonding time and learning and meeting other women. I have so much fun planning these events, and I put a lot of time and work into them because I want you to leave with 2 or 3 great tips that you can take home with your daughter and just have fun. And so I hope that more women will join us. You can find us on Facebook. The group is called Unique Impact for Moms and Daughters, and you can just ask to join the group. And we just ask questions, we inspire each other, and I list there most of the events that are coming up. I usually have 3 or 4 bigger workshops, and then in between those workshops, I'll have smaller events where we'll do something a little low-key.
Okay, great. Well, is there any message out there as we wrap up? Is there any message out there? I really want to paint the picture of maybe a mom out there who is just feeling so chaotic and taking things all on herself, and really wants to feel happier and feel more balanced. Is there a message that you have that you'd like to share, or any tips or anything to leave that person, anyone that's feeling that, leave them with?
I hope you can feel that you're not alone. Learn to ask for help. Find someone. I know some women might not live near their family or close friends, but try to find a group. Find us on Facebook. I'm always happy to reach out, and we have women in our group that are not in the LA area or Orange County, and so I'm always available to talk. If it's something where you're feeling chaotic at home, or you want to work from home, my advice is start small. Find something that you love to do, because if you're passionate and if it's something that you love, you're going to find time to do it. And, see what you're good at, be creative, work with a life coach. Really just take the time to discover yourself again, because life will be chaotic. But if you're really trying to live your purpose and you're passionate about it, it helps. Mm-hmm. It makes things a little bit easier. And to just start small. Same with self-care. Just find 5 minutes, find one little thing to do. And that's what I did. And once you find that few little minutes, you find it's a little easier to find a little bit more time. And so, reach out to people, reach out to your community, give back to your community. That always makes you feel great. And just really start small in anything that you do at home.
That's great wisdom. So even though you have events locally, they can still join online, yes, the Facebook group, and still have be part of that community. So that's great. Well, great. Well, everyone that's been joining us today, thank you so much. May you receive the message that was meant especially for you. I hope that you've had some great tips, insights, ideas, anything that will inspire you in your journey to be able to move forward and find the success that is meaningful to you, that fills your heart and your soul. And stay tuned for more Redefining Success episodes. We will see you next time. You can learn more at www.organizezenliving.com. There's a YouTube icon on the top right-hand corner. Click on that, and you'll be able to subscribe. Super easy. And stay tuned. More to come. So I'm here to help you create space for what matters in your life. So until next time, we'll see you again soon. Bye.
Bye.